Good afternoon. We're here today to speak out for truth, to speak out for justice, to speak out for humanity. We're here today to speak out for Leah. We're here today to focus the eyes and attention of the world on the gross human rights violations that are unfolding in front of us. I want to thank the International Committee on Nigeria and Tony Perkins for your leadership and for the work that you are doing, shining a light. And I want to especially recognize Leah Sharibu, who's here today pleading for the release of her daughter. Leah was kidnapped by an Islamic terrorist organization known as Boko Haram on February 19, 2018. And she's been held captive ever since. She was kidnapped along with 100 other girls from their school in Dapchi, in northeast Nigeria. Fortunately, all but one of the kidnapped girls have since been free, all but Leah, who was 15 years old at the time of the kidnapping. Leah is a Christian. A Christian who refuses to renounce her faith and convert to Islam. And that's why she's still being held hostage by Boko Haram. Leah has said that she would rather live free in captivity than live in freedom as a captive. Those are remarkable, courageous words from anyone. For a 16-year-old girl facing a threat upon her very life, they are extraordinary words of strength and maturity and hope. For the last 612 days, Leah has been living in hellish captivity. I ask everyone here to imagine what Leah is facing right now. As a parent of daughters, I can only imagine the agony Leah's family endures. My wife Heidi lived in Nigeria as a little girl, and in Kenya when her parents were missionaries in both countries. This persecution is wrong, and it needs to end. And tragically, Leah is not the only Christian who's being persecuted or who has died for her faith. Recent studies by domestic and international organizations have found that Christians are the most widely persecuted religious group in the world. Christians suffer at the hands of both state and non-state actors. Their persecutors range from Islamist to communist, and from religious extremist to extremist atheists. According to a report by Open Doors USA, 1 in 9 Christians worldwide experiences a high level of persecution. And, quote, Islamic oppression fuels Christian persecution in 8 of the top 10 countries where Christians experience severe persecution. Certain parts of the world are worse than others, of course. And Nigeria is a place today where Christians are in great danger. Christians in Nigeria are often targeted because of their faith. The State Department's 2018 International Religious Freedom Report details that Boko Haram has targeted 900 churches since their insurgency began. 900 churches. Hostility towards Christians in Nigeria isn't just limited to Boko Haram. The State Department also reports instances of Christian worshipers and priests being slaughtered, sometimes during church services. This is the world Leah is living in. And in the face of evil, she has demonstrated and is demonstrating tremendous courage. Leah was 15 when she was kidnapped. So far, she has spent 2 birthdays in captivity. Part of Boko Haram's barbaric and inhumane behavior includes not just kidnapping and murdering innocent people, but specifically exploiting children. They target children deliberately. According to UNICEF, Boko Haram has kidnapped over 1,000 children in Nigeria since 2013. While many of them are used as suicide bombers or soldiers, others are girls who have been kidnapped while at school. In 2014, there was the infamous kidnapping of 276 Chibok schoolgirls from Borno State, Nigeria. 112 of those girls are still missing. And then in 2018, Boko Haram kidnapped 104 girls from Dapchi, including Leah. Targeting children, targeting little girls and little boys to kidnap, torture, and murder them is the very face of evil. It is the personification of evil. In the Senate, I've worked hard to stop the use of human shields by terrorists like Boko Haram. Last year, I was able to secure the passage of an amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act that requires a formal report on the use of human shields by terrorist groups like Boko Haram, to shine a light of sunlight on the evil being perpetrated in our midst. This report will include lessons that we've learned in addressing the use of human shields, and a specific plan of action incorporating those lessons so that we can have reliable tools to target Boko Haram and other terrorists who use human shields while also saving lives. But amidst this darkness, I want to help share a ray of hope. Leah's captivity reminds many of us of other Christians around the world who have been kidnapped, imprisoned, tortured, and threatened with death, but who ultimately walk free today. Pastor Saeed Abedi was imprisoned far too long until the eyes of the world focused and demanded his freedom. God, we thank you for being here today. Miriam Ibrahim, a mother who was imprisoned in Sudan for being a Christian. Like Leah, Miriam was given a choice: renounce your faith or face death. And like Leah, Miriam Ibrahim demonstrated extraordinary courage. When I first had the opportunity to meet Miriam Ibrahim after she had been released, it struck me how relatively young she was. And I remember asking her, after she's given birth to her second child, Maya, while in leg items, after she's been threatened with 100 lashes and hanging by the neck until dead, I remember asking her how, in the dark of that prison cell, how did you not lose faith? How did you not lose hope? And she simply responded to me with a very quiet answer: Jesus was with me. I can't imagine the strength of Miriam Ibrahim. I can't imagine Leah's strength. There's also Asia Bibi, a Christian who was imprisoned and sentenced to death in Pakistan for blasphemy. Asia spent years on death row, her life hanging in the balance. And then there's Mariam Rostanpour and Marzieh Amirzadeh, two Iranian women who converted to Christianity and spread the gospel. covertly handing out New Testaments to over 20,000 Iranians. The Iranian regime arrested, imprisoned, tortured, and sentenced them both to death by hanging for their Christian faith. Christians across the world like this lifted, these women lifted these prisoners of conscience up in prayer and brought attention to their persecution. And remarkably, by God's grace, these courageous Christian women are freed. So there's hope. There is hope, and there is power. A few voices, like a candle in the dark of a cave, can light the very darkest recesses. Our voices together are powerful. That's why in February I wrote a letter to the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, urging the Commission to designate Leah as a prisoner of conscience, which would send a clear message that we will not allow any child victims of terror to be forgotten as we continue to shine a light on the rampant persecution being committed by Boko Haram. And this week, I was proud to help lead a bipartisan letter of Republicans and Democrats, senators and House members standing together in a plea to Nigeria's president, urging him to use the fullest extent of his power to secure Leah's safe release. The United States needs to convey a moral clarity on these issues and to demand the government in Nigeria to protect religious freedom and to protect basic human rights. It's time, it's long past time for Leah to be freed. And for Boko Haram to be put on its heels and dismantled forever. God is present in the darkest corners. In my family, we too have experienced persecution. My father was imprisoned and tortured in Cuba as a teenager. My aunt, my Tia Sonia, was about Leah's age when she was thrown in prison and tortured in Cuba. Today, both my father and my Tia Sonia are free, have escaped oppression, and are living free here in America. Sometime back, I had the opportunity to visit with Natasha Sharansky, the famed Soviet dissident. He and I sat down in Jerusalem, talked about his time, his years in the Soviet Gulag. And what Natasha told me is that in those cells that they would pass from cell to cell with notes. Did you hear what President Reagan said? Evil empire. Marxism, Leninism will end up on the ash heap of history. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. That those words in a dark and lonely prison cell pierced through the prison walls and ultimately helped bring about the collapse of the Soviet Union. Our voices here today resonate and resonate loudly. And those who are committing evil, who are committing atrocities, those barbaric animals who target little girls, should be viewed rightly across the globe as contemptible predators. I would give everyone here a final word of encouragement. Truth is stronger than lies. Light is stronger than darkness. our voices here together are in support of truth and light. So I want to commend every voice here to be heard from the mountaintops, to be heard across the nation and across the globe. And I look forward to the day, hopefully very, very soon, where we can welcome Leah as free, liberated, and a powerful, powerful testimony of the love of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
God bless you.